Good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday at noon, which means it's time for our Facebook Live on the home buying process. I'm Amy Schroeder with RE/MAX Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Sloan with Mortgage Investors Group.
And today we're going to talk to you about the appraisal and the title process involved in buying a home. So to kind of recap where we have come from, we have got you pre-qualified. We looked for houses, we found the house, we got it under contract, we got our home inspection done, we resolved any issues with that, and so now the mortgage company has been notified that we're good to go and they can order the appraisal and the title work. So we want to break down for you a little bit about the appraisal process and how it works. So Kim, if you would explain to them kind of like how the appraisal gets ordered, who gets selected, that kind of thing.
Okay. We'll definitely do that. Now, one thing we do is we do collect for the appraisal fee, and that can be different depending on the loan program. Personally, our company or myself, I collect a check or a credit or debit card, but I don't cash that. So I'm just holding that information. But when the housing market crashed a few years ago, the appraisal process changed. It used to be that we could just say, okay, I know this appraiser and we're going to use him. But to keep it to being, where that you can't select someone who might say, hey, I really like to get this house $10,000 less and get a little appraisal. And there's appraisal management companies now. And basically what we do is when in need of an appraisal, we order through that appraisal management company, and then it gets assigned to an appraiser. Lots of times as the lender, we may not even know who that appraiser is, and they're going to obviously reach out to the seller or the selling agent and say, I've got a request to appraise this property, and then they'll get contact information from them to access the property and do that. Now, VA loans are a little bit different. VA loans, those appraisals are ordered directly through VA, and they assign the appraiser as well. So basically to say, as far as a lender, we're not allowed to pick the appraiser. Therefore, if someone says, well, I've got an appraisal I had done before, or a previous owner tried to buy, most of the time we can't use those appraisals.
Right. And I know, like when we did the home inspection, when we talked about that, if the inspector went out today, then you're going to get that report back that night, and you're going to know, where you're at as far as the inspection goes. Appraisals are a little bit different. So if an appraiser contacted me today and said, hey, I'm going to go out there Friday and do the appraisal on this property, it may be the following Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday before we actually got that appraisal back.
Yes, because really the appraiser's work is not as much as doing the inspection. It's going back and finding the comparables. He has to find homes that have sold that are similar to the one that the person's purchasing, similar in size, location, age, and things like that. So usually their hard part is not, like I said, the actual inspection, but actually writing the report.
Right. And that's what the appraisal process is all about, is determining the value. So as a buyer, the appraisal is important because you don't want to overpay for a house. A lot of people, when the real estate market crashed, found that they had overpaid for a house. So that's why you want the appraiser to go out, and you want him or her, to do a fair assessment of the property and say, based on this house and other homes that are similar that have sold, this is what we think the value is. So we don't usually have an issue with homes not appraising, but there are always going to be some circumstances that may or may not come up, and you just have to address those. So just because it doesn't appraise doesn't necessarily kill the deal. You may be able to fight the appraisal if you think it's not a good appraisal, which we've done before, or you can also go back to that seller and say, look, we got the appraisal done, it's a good appraisal, and we're $5,000 off. Would you take less? And the seller doesn't have to agree to take less. So usually what I tell people is once we get through the home inspection and once we get that appraisal worked out, then you can kind of take a little deep breath and say, okay, this is really going to happen now, because those are your two biggest hurdles that you're going to face when you're buying a house. So, but at the same time that they order the appraisal, they're going to order a title search. And the title company is typically going to be spelled out on the contract. So when you make your offer, you're going to fill in, who you want to use. And we have 3 different title companies here in Morristown, so most of the time it's kind of spread out between those. You have Heartland Title, Colonial Title, and Lakeway Title. So Each title company typically is going to have an attorney that is affiliated with their office, and that's who does the title search and kind of oversees things. And a title search, they go to the courthouse, they start with the most recent deed on that property and kind of do a reverse search, if you will, and they start looking up the older deeds, deeds of trust. They pull any plats or surveys that are recorded. They pull the restrictions and the covenants. And their job is to make sure that at closing, you're getting a free and clear title. So, they go back 30 years, I think it is,
30.
on their title search. So when you get that warranty deed at closing, that this is your house, that, it's free and clear of any problem, so to speak. Those would be worked out before you got to closing. So now when you do get to closing, they will offer you what's called owner's title insurance. Your lender is automatically going to have a lender's title insurance policy. And what does that do for them?
It just covers any defects in that chain of title that's unforeseen. For example, forgery. If when that attorney checks those previous deeds, he sees everybody signed, but obviously he can't tell if that's a real signature or a forged signature.
Right.
So that's one thing that the title insurance will protect against. It will also protect against missing heirs to the property. So, for example, if let's say that you purchase a home that is a part of an estate, and we think all the heirs to the property have been notified, but let's say you purchase that home and later on someone else comes forward and says, I was an heir to the property and I didn't get my part. So again, that could be potential flaws in that title search.
So the lender automatically says, hey, we're gonna make you pay for us to have this title policy. And so when you go to closing, the title company is going to offer you that same protection, and it's called an owner's title policy. And if you purchase it at the time of closing, you will get it at a discount because they sell it to you in conjunction with that lender's title policy. But it would handle anything that would be beyond that 30-year search. Like she was talking about on an estate sale, somebody comes up 2 or 3 years later and says, hey, I was the illegitimate son of so-and-so. That was part of my inheritance too. Then the title insurance policy is going to protect your interest in that property and help you fight for the right to keep it. And just like any insurance policy, you buy it and hope you never have to use it. But if you ever do need it, it is well worth the small investment. You're looking at $300 or $400 one-time investment to protect your $200,000 to $300,000 asset that you just bought. So it's one of those things that, everybody's trying to pinch pennies when you get to closing because you've got a lot of things, furniture you're buying, whatever. But the owner's title policy is usually a very good investment that we strongly suggest people take, but it is not required.
Definitely suggested, yes.
Excuse me. So that kind of walks you through the appraisal and the title process. Next week, excuse me, I got a cough. Sorry about that. I think my allergies are acting up. So next week, we are going to talk more about the actual closing now that we've went through this whole process. And we'll talk to you about the closing, which is always the most exciting part of buying a home.
For all of us.
So stay tuned with us next Wednesday at noon. If you are in the market to purchase a home, I would love to work with you. And if you are thinking about selling, we definitely need inventory right now. At the rate we're going, we would be out of inventory in 2 months if nobody else lists their house for sale. So if you're thinking about selling, please give me a call. Probably wouldn't take that long to get it sold for you. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and we will see you next week.